What's up, world? This is your quick news with your boy Nick the Quick, and I won't be so quick right here. I want to spend time talking to my Dallas Cowboy faithful. Looks like we're in for another long year, you all. We saw the Cowboys organization maintain their head coach Mike McCarthy. We lost defensive coordinator Dan Quinn, which is a huge loss. Dare I say, even more so than the loss to the Green Bay Packers in the first round of the playoffs. Possibly under Mike McCarthy, you can go check the numbers. I believe it's top 5 takeaways, maybe passing yards allowed, and sacks. Go check those numbers. At least definitely 2 of them. The sacks and the takeaways is top 5 over his 3-year period of time. That was huge for our team. We'll never know what that meant to the success of going 12-5 for 3 straight years. Hopefully we don't have to find out. Mike Zimmer, former Dallas Cowboys coach and defensive coordinator from, I believe, 94 to 2000 and early 2000s, will be stepping in. They made that announcement last week. He will be stepping in to fill the void left from Dan Quinn at defensive coordinator. Dan Quinn, by the way, is the new Washington Commanders head coach. He also took our defensive passing game coordinator, Joe Witt, with him to be his new defensive coordinator in Washington. And for those of you who don't know what a defensive passing game coordinator was, kind of, I don't want to say just that. The defense, sets up to stop the run and the pass. And there's somebody on the Cowboys staff over the past few years who was entrusted to kind of build the plan for stopping teams' passing attack against the Cowboys defense. I'll have to kind of check some stats. I just said that it was probably top 5 over Dan Quinn's tenure here with the Cowboys. So if that's the case, Joe Wood was an excellent coach. If that in fact was a top 5 stat, definitely, whether they were top 5 in passing yards allowed, what we saw under Dan Quinn, Joe Witt, defensive passing game coordinator, we saw Trayvon Diggs have an all-pro performance, and we saw Deron Bland just this past season have an all-pro performance. Now, I don't want to just say it was on them. Those guys, Trayvon and Deron's position coach, Al Harris, was a lot to do with that. I hope that the Cowboys are able to keep him on staff. We'll see how that goes. But, definitely there's going to be a different way of how that happens now that Dan Quinn is not the coordinator. And what do I mean by that? So Mike Zimmer, who is the new Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator, again, former Dallas Cowboys assistant and defensive coordinator. And when he was the coordinator, guys, we saw players like DeMarcus Ware, Terrence Newman, I can name some names you might not know: Brady James, Bruce Carter, Bobby Carpenter. Oh my God, there's this defensive end that we got, and we franchise tagged him one year. We drafted him high, and he really wasn't any more than a Dorrance Armstrong. Somebody please help me out in the comments with that guy's name. But yeah, we now have more talent, I believe, than we ever had back then under Mike Zimmer. And we have some talented teams. Yeah, I'm going to stop before I go there because I don't think he was the defensive coordinator that year we had like all the Pro Bowlers. I believe that was 2012. Somebody help me out with that in the comments. I know a lot about football, but I might miss a couple dates. But yeah, we definitely had DeMarcus Ware. We had Terrence Newman. Those might have been the biggest names we had as his time as a defensive coordinator. Now, he was there the 94 season, so he coached Deion Sanders. He coached, other, all-time Dallas Cowboy greats for, 94 to 95. I think after that we kind of faded. The greats kind of got out of their prime. So anyways, that being said, I think this is more talent than he ever had in Minnesota when he was the head coach there defensively. I'm interested to see what he'll do with that talent, but he's not really an attack, style of play caller or even system. He loves the 4-3 defense, which allows you to be very strong against the run. Man, I can't tell y'all how having 4 defensive linemen at the line of scrimmage against offensive linemen, it not only gives you a better opportunity to stop the run, it just lets teams know, well, I can't run in this gap. Teams want to scheme gaps in space to get the ball to. They don't want to run through a wall, But what ends up happening is that you getting playoff football, you getting late January, December football. Teams physically are tired. So I'm not going to kill DeMarcus Lawrence like a lot of people are. Like, they were tired. I don't care. The mindset that I'm not tired has to be there. But physically, you tired. You're more dinged up and sore unless you're taking Toradol shots, to keep your body pain-free during the game. I know adrenaline will get the pumping and running and stuff like that too. But no, man, you sore and you banged up. That's why teams have to be able to run the ball. Because we can't do all this elaborate, extravagant stuff like we can at the beginning of the season, because you might not get exactly where you got to in August. You might not be able to get there in January with everything, with run blocking, with receivers coming down and cracking, I don't know if they can still crack block, but all the schematics that you would design up, those things get slowed down as far as the timing of that stuff. And that's why it's so important to work on those things, because you probably don't understand this. As a quarterback and a receiver, we talk about those guys going to go get time in the offseason to learn the chemistry. Okay, but by the time they've thrown their 300th route pass to the receiver, that dude tired. And the quarterback sees his, everything when that now slows down. That makes you successful when you're fresh because you got that timing. But then when a guy's tired and, things are a little bit different, he also has understanding of that, and is able to capitalize on that. Now, I think that's a real thing. This idea that you weren't tired didn't show up on the field, so I heard Brandon Cooks and Stephon Gilmore, which I love, man. I mean, we got to keep these two guys. We got Brandon Cooks. We got to find a way to keep Stephon Gilmore. Man, can you think about Stephon Gilmore, Trayvon Diggs, and Deron Bland? Man, I don't know if we can keep Jordan Lewis if we do that. I think whatever 3 you keep out of those 4 names, 2 of them being Trayvon and Deron, because they're, I believe, still signed through contract. Stephon's the only one, and Jordan's the only one that, we got to make a decision on. I think if you can keep 3, one of those 2, Jordan or Stephon, you got a pretty good secondary next year. Pairing that with Donovan Wilson and Malik Hooker. But again, I want to get back to this 4-man front. Yeah, it just really sends a message that we're going to stop the ball. And again, playoff teams running the ball, it gets to become like a power offensive running game, heavy zone schemes where, technique and will is starting to now take over. Some teams are a lot better at that than others. When you don't have 4 guys to right now hold up 5 offensive linemen, you're in trouble. You got 3, somebody's easily able to climb up to a linebacker that you've decided can be an undersized guy. That's why I can't understand this. I continue to try to keep myself in a humble place. I'm not an NFL head coach. I wish, I would one day become one. But you make a decision to play an undersized, linebacker, and not to say Dan Quinn, we play very different front variations. We don't always have a 4-man front. We don't always have a 3-man front. Man, sometimes Micah's lined up at defensive tackle over the course of this season. There's no true identity to who we are and how we do anything. We just do a lot of things pretty good and, can cause some confusion, can get after the quarterback at times. But when February football comes around, or December and January football come around, it's all about what's your calling card. And the Cowboys defensively, their calling card is taking the ball away and getting after the quarterback. And that has nothing to do with stopping the run. So when it's time to try to hold up that, tank that's coming downhill, you're not conditioned for it. So you're tired, when it's time to have to do things that you have to exert yourself outside of the norm. You're going to be more tired trying to do that. And again, the season's going to take its toll. I know it's a mindset, though. Those two great players, those two Super Bowl champions, Stephon Gilmore, definitely a future Hall of Famer, we're talking about this mindset that, you're going to come up and say tired as a reason to why you lost that game, why you weren't able to make it to the Super Bowl. You can't do that. That's a mindset thing. And I love DeMarcus Lawrence, too. I watched Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp kind of hold his feet over the coals, so to speak, and asking him questions about the season and what we can expect going forward. And DeMarcus kind of, Shannon Sharp told him this: you are responsible as the leader of the team to make sure everybody is ready to go and ready to play. And to, Shannon's credit, it looked like it's something that DeMarcus, had a hard time processing. And as a Cowboys fan, it's like, bro, you played well enough to win, but you don't know that you really got to hold these guys accountable. We got to hear the story of you then choke somebody out because they don't want to hear you tell them that you're accountable today. Check in. If they don't respond positively to that, DeMarcus, and I don't want to say that because this is a clean, fun podcast we got here, or YouTube channel rather. But listen, man, somebody got hurt messing with DeMarcus Lawrence, not wanting to check in. You got to check in. We're going after this championship in the Super Bowl. And again, like when Shannon Sharp was kind of really adamant, bro, like that's on you. That's on you. That's your job. You're the leader. You got to make sure everybody's accountable. He kind of was just like, okay, okay, and not enough to make me feel like he's gonna carry. I don't think he thinks that's him. Other former NFL players, but Cowboy greats, Emmitt Smith talked this past week. Michael Irvin talked this past week. Man, it goes on and on. Darren Woodson, they got the Super Bowl role with all the media. These guys sat down with some Cowboys media and really talked about their ideas of what went wrong, and what needs to change for things to go right in the future. We heard all of them be very, very embarrassed and disappointed with the Cowboys' effort in that playoff game against the Packers, as they should be. It kind of, made me feel good hearing their disdain with the Cowboys organization and players and coaching staff. Those are three different parts. And Emmitt Smith even said, those three things have to be so, connected. And if they're not, it's hard to expect success. And he kind of points to situations where things look that they're not all connected, from organization to coaches to players. And, where is that disconnect lie? The players part, I'll put the best player that, the highest paid player we have on our team, Dak Prescott. There's situations where great players, great quarterbacks have came out and said that the coach can call one thing, but I'm going to call the right thing, right? Dak is supposed to be operating at that level. 8th year this past season as an NFL starting quarterback. Yeah, dude, we just need to run the clock. This is going against the Detroit Lions. We just need to run the clock, kick the ball back to these guys maybe with like 25 seconds, 10, something, insane, a low amount of time to score. We throw the ball 3 times, 3 incompletions. Dak throws the ball out of bounds. It's like, did the head coach not tell you, hey, if there's nothing there, just take the sack. Just go down on the knee. Don't even let them, just, don't let the clock stop. We have to force them to burn their timeouts. And I don't know how he could have done that and Dak go out there and run 3 passing plays. But maybe he checked to that. I don't know. There's a disconnect, though. This is why I'm willing to allow Dak Prescott, I'm willing to see the Cowboys allow Dak Prescott to play his contract out this final year. Don't do nothing else. You stop. Let this ride out. Sometimes you have to flush your transmission in your car. Sometimes you have to flush the radiator hoses in your car. Like, you might have to just let this flush on out, and really be able to maybe see in a year or so what pieces we truly have. We need to kind of take hold of the future right now. That future being Micah and CD. Let's see what we got in Trey Lance. Let's draft the quarterback. Maybe not this year, but the following year. But yeah, don't draft the quarterback this year. Maybe draft the offensive lineman for Dak. And you've had enough time. I'm not. We got to stop making excuses for the guy. Listen, if he doesn't do it this year, with 10 people hurt, he's not good enough. He should have to. I would hate to see the Cowboys, go through a season riddled with injury. We didn't have, we had a tough season last year with injury. Van Der Esch would have been big in a situation like Green Bay. Trayvon Diggs, those two guys being lost for the season right there, those are big names enough. Those are key players, impact players on your team, and you lost those guys for the season rather early. Definitely early with Diggs, and Van Der Esch might have played 4 games. I don't know. But yeah, Dak has to get it done. He is 3 years overdue with needing to get it done. It's like, not paying your bills and you're just riding down the highway like, woo, they're not going to cut my phone off or, take my vehicle away from me. I'm not paying my bills. Woo! Like, come on, bro. You're not paying your bills, man. And you just riding down the highway. Just, and, guys, for me, I don't physically need to see Dak Prescott riding down the highway like, woo! But his play on the football field is just that to me. He continues to get to wear the star. You're going to have to ask yourself, is Dak Prescott better than Tony Romo? And you might say yes. I may say yes. I don't know if Tony Romo, he had Dez Bryant and he had Terrell Owens. He had great years those years too. He didn't have Ezekiel Elliott. I think Dak Prescott killed Dez Bryant's career. I really do. He could not throw the ball, in which, again, we talk about that wide receiver quarterback chemistry. He can't throw the ball like Tony can. So what made Dez and Tony great with their connection, that connection got disconnected. We loved, and it's something I'm not going to get to. We were entertained by Dez Bryant and Tony Romo. Very much so, Dez Bryant had risen to that 88, Michael Irvin, Drew Pearson, great Cowboy, to all of us Cowboy fans. And then Tony get hurt, and Dak is your quarterback. We're thankful that we had Zeke during those times because, I think Dez, to his credit, had a pretty good year, Dak's rookie season. Probably finished like 8 touchdowns, like 900 and something yards, but that was it. After that, that season that, he only had 900 yards. At first, people were starting to question, Dez losing his explosiveness. He's not in and out of breaks like he used to be. He stopped focusing on that early in his career because he could jump over everybody. And then, break a tackle and run after the catch. That was who he was. Dak could not be that type of quarterback he needed to be early on, especially early on. I think Dak is just now able to play with Dez Bryant. This is Cowboy fans I'm talking to right here. As far as who Dak has now grown into as a quarterback, some people look at you crazy if you say Tony Romo is better than Dak. So you're better than Tony Romo now. You should be able to play with the receiver who's maybe not as quick in and out of breaks, but initially can get off the line of scrimmage, can get over the top of a corner and win a jump ball, win a back shoulder fade. This is football, man. And if you got a guy who can do that at an elite level, you got to be able to take advantage of that. I don't know. I think the Tony Romo thing it's a bad joke. It really was. Like, he done? We just went to the game before the semifinals or whatever. Second round of the playoffs against the Packers, lost on a tough, heartbreaking rule change of a play, and then he just bowed out. And there was a lot of success. I think that, no, somebody should have stepped in, man. This is the Cowboys organization, and it's happened. Tom Brady took over for Drew Bledsoe, took them to a Super Bowl. I'm not going to get stuck too long. I think Drew Bledsoe took over for somebody when he got his job. But anyways, Tony Romo took over for Drew Bledsoe. They didn't win the Super Bowl. Somebody's got to step in and be like, yeah, he is playing good, Tony. But when you back ready, you the quarterback. Tony had been great. Tony had been really, really good. He had been playing MVP level football. The idea that this kid can step in, we didn't let Cooper Rush do it. Tony was longer into his career. But Cooper Rush took the Cowboys to 4-1 after Dak Prescott got hurt just a couple years ago here. And there was some questions. You let Cooper Rush loses to the Eagles, you bring Dak back. Why couldn't we bring Tony back? It was like a perfect situation. Like, Dak dominated, pretty much is what he did his rookie season, until Tony was fully healthy. And we went through all offseason. You're talking about all the training that you do before a season. We went through that part of the season as Tony Romo's our quarterback leading into the season. Injuries do happen. We should not have made that call. We should have put Tony Romo back in, is what we should have did. And if he doesn't win it, then go back to Dak. He was a rookie that year. Listen here. So we had DeMarco Murray with Tony Romo and Dez Bryant. Got us again. Rule change of a play away from an NFC Championship game. That Dez catch, they changed the rule. It's a catch now. We're in the NFC Championship. That's what we get as Cowboy fans. Some rule change now, you would have went, whatever. I just got stuck right there. You can't live there, Cowboy fans. We can't get over there and just live in that moment. But yeah, I forgot what I was going to say because that moment was so tough. They changed the rule. We had DeMarco Murray. We had Dez Bryant. We had Tony Romo. Man, we had the triplets of the 2000s for the Cowboys, And then, we lose DeMarco Murray after that season, which hurt us because he had that great year. I think I don't know if he goes right to the Eagles. He played with the Titans as well. But, yeah, I think he went right to the Eagles. So we had that dominant quarterback, receiver, running back grouping or, that you need for your team to, stake its claim. This is who we are. We riding on this. We had the same thing. We had Dez, we had Ezekiel Elliott, and we had Tony Romo. I'm going to tell you that I think Ezekiel Elliott was better than DeMarco Murray. That's what I'm going to tell you, especially for his first 3 years. Now, DeMarco had 1,800 rush yards, but they gave him the ball 400 times. This is the Cowboys. We ran people into walls and killed their careers, and we got nothing to show for it. So let me get back because I'll lose my place easily, as you guys can see. We had Dez, Ezekiel, and Tony Romo, and we looked that off like Michael Jordan's at the top of the, he's at the free throw line open. We going to pass him the ball. Scottie Pippen, what you going to do? Or you going to go try to, attack double coverage, and you're choosing to go attack double coverage. I don't want to say Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen's actually a great player. I'm going to be okay with him doing that if he feels like he can make that happen. But that may just be the situation. Like, maybe people were okay with, I was okay with Dak at that time because we didn't know. We're like, this guy's not, the laugh of I don't even, the butt of everybody joke like Tony Romo's career had been at times, but it definitely seemed like towards the end of his career, he became more efficient. He was better with turning the ball over. And that's the success we had started to witness. I mean, we talk about Tony Romo. Listen, I lift the dry. Excuse me. Go look at Tony Romo, Dallas Cowboys versus the Denver Broncos. I forget what year. You could probably just search that in YouTube. Dallas Cowboys versus Denver Broncos. The game that should pop up is when Tony Romo was the quarterback for the Cowboys and Peyton Manning was the quarterback for the Broncos. There's like 1,000 passing yards in that game. And I think Tony had more passing yards, which I know does not tell the whole story as far as your quarterback ability, but it's a part of it. You got to be able to throw the ball. But we talked about Tony Romo being at the height of his game, and just watch it to see, well, where is Dak in comparison? Because Dak has had some moments like that to speak of to kind of go against that performance, but where they at? And, some of them, some of those games that rivals Tony's, top performances are losses. Some of those games that he has as far as amazing stats are in which he threw for probably like 300 yards in a quarter, which is amazing. But again, you're the butt of everybody joke. The club closed. The club is closing in an hour. The club is closing in 15 minutes, Dak. Here you is in the middle of the floor doing a James Brown. The club closing in 15 minutes. You in the middle of the floor doing the James Brown dance. Everybody's in the parking lot. You in the middle of the floor doing the James Brown. So, and Tony might have some games like that too. I just know for Dak's career, this is his thing. The club's closing in 15 minutes. Everybody's in the parking lot. People are fighting in the parking lot. Dak in the middle of the floor. Dak is in a club in the middle of the floor doing the James Brown dance. And again, this is nothing personal. Dak, change your narrative with your play, man. I think removed from the arena is removed from the criticism. You stop playing, we will go back to those James Brown dances you was in the club doing and be like, well, what kind of dances was he doing? Was he dancing good? Yeah, he was dancing good, but everybody was outside. But, he had some moves, he had some moves when he was in that dance. And then, it's not going to get you in the Hall of Fame if Tony's not in the Hall of Fame, So I don't know what you guys have to do. Take the criticism. Take this new coaching that you're going to be getting. Defensive players who are our young defensive players. Team leaders, DeMarcus Lawrence, hold your teammates accountable. Understand how to do that. Maybe there's some training you can do. I think you have to take a Micah Parsons with you because although he may be someone that needs you to minister unto him to make sure you hold him, he has got to be a catalyst for holding people accountable. He has to grow. I'm not saying maybe he doesn't have to grow, but the reports are. He has to grow from being someone who needs motivation, encouragement, the push, to pushing, to motivating, to encouraging his teammates to be as great as they can. And if we don't get that out of him, it's a travesty. We would have taken a guy who could have been a linebacker, probably a really good linebacker. We moved him to defensive line. And the funny thing is, you guys, in this contract situation that comes up, he's going to want to be paid like a defensive end. The Cowboys still list him as a linebacker. So you talk about from organization, the coaches, the players. There's the disconnect right there. they don't know how they going to pay him. They going to try to sit down with him as a linebacker when it's time to pay him. But he's going to want to be paid like a defensive end because they rush him. And a lot of, I'm not going to say I haven't, a lot of us Cowboy fans, not myself, have been screaming for him to be hand in the ground or around in the line of scrimmage rushing. Only doing that. Well, that's what you do with them. Y'all part of the problem. I love Cowboys, the Dallas Cowboys. I don't like all the fans. I can't sit with all the fans and watch the games. I don't go to the games. I don't want to sit with all the fans. There's this delusion in fanship across the world, not just with the Cowboys, but, we know it get thick down here in Texas. Shit get thick in Texas. But, yeah, man, there's just a lot to unpack with this, and it's been 30 minutes. This is your not so quick news with your boy, Nick the Quick. Till next time, you guys, please like, share, and subscribe. I'm out.